Ryan Willie here says, does Wisconsin get shut out? Again, asking for a very upset Badger fan. Wisconsin, 34.5 underdog. Um, Zach, do you want to know something sad? And I'm not trying to make Ryan more sad here, but I'm about to.
Yeah, go for it. I mean,
Do you know how much Oregon was favored by over Montana State, an FCS
I
team?
think it was 31 and a half.
27.5.
Was it? Oh,
They were
oof,
favored by less than a
oof.
touchdown over an FCS team. Then Oregon is favored over
Mm.
Wisconsin here.
Yeah. Do you want to know what my question is for Oregon and Wisconsin?
It's the same as Ryan, so yes, go ahead and ask it.
It's will Wisconsin score?
Yes. It's a sad state of the Wisconsin program right now. I take no joy in it. Actually, I like Luke Fickell a lot. I take no
Yeah.
joy at all. I am sad as well.
Listen, as the head of the Forcing Coaches to Retire podcast, fire Ryan or fire Luke Fickell. I almost said fire Ryan Day, and I'm like, no, wrong
That was
one.
last
Wrong
season,
one.
Zach.
That
That
was
was last
last
season.
season.
He won the national championship. It's okay. You can give him
Uh,
credit. Okay.
uh, uh,
Yeah.
There's the
You're
last
just
one in
so used
there.
to saying it last year that you had to subconsciously say it again.
Fire Luke Fickell.
Yeah. I mean, I
Fire
think
Luke
this is
Fickell.
this is probably where we need to have the conversation, and we will talk Oregon here in a minute. So if you're watching this as an Oregon fan, stay with me. I just think we need to have this conversation about Luke Fickell and the Chris McIntosh thing, with them essentially coming out and saying that they're going to keep Luke Fickell for next year, or he is going to keep Luke Fickell for next year. Do you buy it? Do you see any reason for that to be the case? What are your thoughts, Zach? Did you see it? I guess first and
I
foremost.
I I think I did see it. I I didn't realize he was saying that. I didn't realize he was saying that he was keeping him for next year. I thought he was just going to keep him for the end of this year,
Well, I
which I
will
thought was
I
dumb.
will look it up one more time just to double check, but um go ahead, I'll find it. Go ahead.
Well, I think if that's his statement, you need to fire the AD too, because this has gone on long enough. It was wrong to keep him on last year, but they did. Or no, sorry, it was wrong to extend him and give him a raise last year. It was malpractice to do that last year. If you give him another year this year, all you are doing is giving a torpedo to your football program. And those kids and those fans and that school deserve better than that. So if he does that, get rid of McIntosh. That's absurd.
Yeah, so I pulled it up right here, and essentially they're saying that um I'm trying to find the exact quote in it really fast, but um basically he's saying that like they just need more funding type of deal. Like they need to put more money into the program, which I do not completely disagree with. You are right now paying your assistant coaches about average Big Ten wages, and you're not exactly up there in NIL spending right now. So, like, how
Okay.
can you expect Luke Fickell to win with a program when everybody's injured and he doesn't have any money for coaches or players, right?
Counterpoint, Northwestern's 5-2.
Okay,
I
yes,
sorry, I'm
but
not I'm
Northwestern
I'm
doesn't.
I'm mad at Wisconsin.
I
At
know, but I'm
athletics,
saying
sorry,
that
not you.
Northwestern doesn't have their entire offensive line. They don't have every running back in their room. They don't have their two, I guess their starting quarterback. Like they did not have a linebacker break an arm last game and have to continue to play the entire game even though he broke his arm, right? Like this is the state of the Wisconsin program right now. I'm not arguing that he should stay. I'm
I
just saying that like I do think there needs to be a conversation of like it's also been terrible luck for Luke Fickell with some of the injury stuff. Like, can we at
well,
least agree on that?
yes, but then that begs the question, what's going on with their strength and conditioning? Because at some point it's not just bad luck. This is 3 years in a row where they've had major injuries everywhere. Are you developing players? Are you helping are you doing the right things to help them be conditioned to play the game of football at this level? This is my frustration. Luke Fickell has been a failure in every aspect of this this whole experiment. game planning, roster building, development, strategy, timeout management. He cannot do anything right now. If we're going to fire James Franklin from Penn State and we're going to give Luke Fickell a vote of confidence for next year, all Wisconsin is doing is saying we're okay with being mediocre to bad, and they have their heads in the sand.
I don't think it's Wisconsin saying they're okay with being mediocre or bad. I think it's Chris McIntosh saying, "Please work, Luke Fickell, otherwise I'm going to lose my job if you don't work."
Yeah, he should lose his job now if he's going to back Luke Fickell. I'm sorry. And maybe I'm being too short-sighted in it. I hear what you're saying. I'm just like, this is to make a statement like this when you are legit incompetent is just insane.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and just so I understand what James is saying, like you can't keep an arm from breaking with strength and
no,
conditioning.
but they
I
had
get
soft
that.
tissue injuries with like the offensive linemen and stuff. You're not.
Yeah,
I brought up that example, but you weren't saying it to that. I didn't
yeah,
think. Okay,
yeah. Like if you break an arm, you're out. Like you should.
right.
But that's another question. It's like why don't they have someone to replace that guy? And it's because of the strength and conditioning. It's because of the roster management.
Yeah. Well, and it's also because of NIL and not having enough money to
Yeah.
go out and get players too, right? So I think overall, like I think Luke Fickell should be fired. Just to say that, like he should be fired. I'm not trying to argue that he shouldn't,
Yeah.
but I do think that Luke Fickell takes too much of the blame. Like I do think that some of this also needs to be attributed to injuries. I think also some of this needs to be attributed to the athletic director for not backing Luke Fickell with that financial stuff that he needed. Like it's year
Yeah.
3, he's not scored a point the past 2 games, and now you're saying, okay, let's give him financial backing. It's like
Yeah.
you just paid a dude $8 million and didn't give him enough for assistant coaches, and didn't give him enough to field a team.
That
Like if you spend all your money on the coach, this is what you're gonna get.
I think that is a really good point. And I think it goes back to when they fired Paul Christ, they did it thinking a coach could save them without changing anything else. They're like, if we change our style of play, if we change who the head man is, that will give our program hope. But they never changed the philosophy on NIL and spending. And so, and the fact that they're waiting until now to do it after getting blown out twice without seeing the writing on the wall 2 years ago is malpractice.
Well, and some of this does need to, like, I know I just said don't blame Luke Fickell for everything, but some of this is also the head coach shouldn't take the job if he knows he's not going to have the financial backing,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's there's blame to go around. And
And
like,
maybe Luke Fickell was naive to that. Maybe he didn't understand, but
yeah.
still,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's a very interesting situation. I know Ryan is in the chat and he's not happy at all. And
Yeah.
Ryan, I feel
We're
your
sorry.
frustration, man. I am
Yeah.
not. I am not arguing that Luke Fickell should stay by any means. I think and this might be worse news for Wisconsin fans, but I think it goes deeper than the head coach. The issues in this
Oh
football
yeah.
program right now.
When your athletic director makes a statement like that, it absolutely does. It shows that he has no idea what he's doing.
Well, it shows that he is too afraid to lose his job than to make a change. Number one, and it also probably shows that you don't have the money to fire the head coach.
Yeah. It's
And that
not
could be a
good.
part of this as well. I think this is a part that not everybody is thinking of enough,
That's
which
a
is
good
if you don't
point.
have the money to fire the head coach, do you have the money to hire the next head coach and field a team for them? Because I think that's what's going on at Florida State right now with Mike Norvell.
Oof. How does Florida State not have money?
They're in the ACC.
That's how. Yeah. How does Wisconsin not have money? What are we doing?
I don't. They spent it all on Luke Fickell. I don't know. So anyway, let's talk about the game. So your question, we talked
Will
about
they
that
score?
already a little bit. My question is more centered on Oregon, which is we'll get to Nebraska Northwestern in a second. My question is, can Oregon show that they are indeed the best offensive line in the Big Ten? Because Zach, I have been saying that Oregon is the best offensive line in the Big Ten. Some people question it after the Indiana game, and I get that. Would say you ran into one of the best defensive lines and one of the best coached teams in all of the country, and so I would not necessarily say that you cannot be the best offensive line. If you want to say there are other best offensive lines right now, I get that. But I still feel like the Oregon offensive line is going to end the season as the best offensive line in the Big Ten. I don't think they're going to win the Joe Moore Award because, for whatever reason, SEC right now, and people love to vote for them for that kind of stuff. But I think this offensive line Oregon has a really good opportunity to show their case here because who did Wisconsin just play 2 weeks ago? Iowa, who is also thought of as the best offensive line in the Big Ten. And Iowa obviously shut them out 37-0. They had a good game in that one. Iowa ran for 210 yards. They had 4 touchdown runs in that game. They only gave up like 4 pressures in pass blocking in this game. Now, Wisconsin's not a great pass rush team, but they are a good run defense team. So, in my opinion, Oregon needs to go out there and run the ball all over Wisconsin in this one if they want to keep that, that thought process of being the best offensive line in the Big Ten. To me, if they don't go out there and run the ball over them, I'm going to concede and say Iowa has the best offensive line in the Big Ten. Right now, it's neck and neck for me. I give the lean to Oregon, but I also acknowledge that this Iowa offensive line is really good too. And after having 2 common opponents now, if they outperform Oregon again with another common opponent, I don't think anybody can say that Oregon has the best offensive line in the Big Ten anymore. I think it has to be unanimously Iowa.
Yeah. No, I think Iowa will continue to have the best offensive line in the regular season. I think Oregon and maybe Ohio State have the potential to surpass them as the season goes on, as they continue to gel. But I do think here's something that's working against Iowa, like in that case from this game. The past 2 weeks, Wisconsin has had to play Iowa, who beat them up, and then Ohio State, who beat them up, and now they have to go to Autzen. I think you could make the case that Wisconsin might be so worn out that they're just running up and down the field on them all game long.
I don't disagree. I mean, you have some really good running backs there at Oregon, right? You have De'Aaron Hill and Jordan Davison and Dante Moore can scoot as well. Like, to me, you have every opportunity here to outplay Wisconsin and play better than them, especially with, like you just pointed out, you played 2 really tough teams back to back in Iowa and Ohio State. So we'll see what happens in this one. But yeah, Oregon's favored here by 33.5. The over under is 44.5. Zach, am I crazy to say that Oregon doesn't cover?
No, I don't think you're
Okay.
crazy. It's a big number.
I think Wisconsin covers in this one, and I think that Oregon wins 38-7. I
Mm,
know I'm going out on a limb and saying that
that
Wisconsin
is.
scores, okay?
Yep.
But they did get close to scoring against Ohio State late in that game when the backups were in,
Mhm. Yep.
right? Like,
Yep. I,
does Oregon eventually put the backups in and maybe they get one, you know, there at the end, And let's face it too, like Ohio State didn't run the ball super well in that game.
Nope.
So,
Nope.
maybe they get a stop, they get good enough field position to get a field goal or something like that. I think it's 38-7. I think Dan Lanning is not gonna stress his guys too much. He's gonna try to get his starters out of there as quick as he can because they do have tough games coming up
Yeah.
with USC and Washington. Like he wants that.
Yeah. So I changed my pick on this. Because I think I had it 34-3. I do not love I just think Wisconsin is depleted. Ohio State probably would have scored more points had they not slowed down the pace of play. Again, you look at the drive chart, is touchdown, field goal, touchdown, punt, missed field goal, and then I think it was field goal, touchdown, touchdown, and then end of game. So they had nine drives, and they scored on 6 of them. They missed a field goal on one, they punted on one, and it was the end of the game on the other. So, like, they should have scored on 7 out of 8 drives. Oregon's going to have more than 8 drives. And
I
I
mean, you
just
think so? Ohio State threw it quite a bit in that one. It wasn't like they were running it a whole bunch.
yeah, but it was very controlled. And even
Yeah,
with that, like Julian saying, I mean, the ball didn't hit the turf.
yeah, that's true.
Um, and I think Oregon's going to run the ball. I think they're going to have explosive runs. So I because of how beat up they are, and it's an Autzen. I've got 52-3. I think Wisconsin gets a field goal, and then I just think Oregon dominates the rest of the game.
Yeah. We will see. We will see. I tend to believe that Oregon will kind of let the gas off the pedal a little bit because I don't think they want to put too much energy into this one. But they did almost lose to Wisconsin last year, so maybe they want to put Wisconsin in their place. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Well, but
they could pull an Oklahoma State here. Now Luke Fickell didn't say anything about Dan Lanning and the money of Oregon, so I don't think they're going to do that. But you never know.
yeah.
Dan Lanning might just get into a mood.
Well, I mean, there's also the reality, like if they're able to run the ball with that offensive line, like is it a case where they have 5 or 6 drives in the first half and they score 35 or 42 points?
Yeah, just touchdowns the entire time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have seen only like 2 drives in games this season, but yeah, we're talking about this game a lot. It's going to be a blowout. Wisconsin doesn't stand a chance, unfortunately, and we'll probably be talking about Luke Fickell and the whole saga and everything again next week. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, not next week because they're on a bye. 2 weeks.
Yeah. Unless if they fire Luke Fickell.
Yeah, if they fire Luke Fickell, we'll bring it up.